Hi, everybody. Dory Ransom here with Be Great, aligning business strategy with soul and spirit. And as we are quickly approaching our amazing conference, today I have one of our sponsors and one of our speakers, Ann Perry, and she is the owner of businessheroinemagazine.com. And I think she's just kind of revolutionizing things out there, shaking things up, and really highlighting amazing women in business. And I would just like to pass it off to Ann and have her share with us a little bit about who she is, what she's doing, and how you might find her.
Oh, thanks, Dory. Well, first of all, I'm super excited to be part of the Be Great conference. I'm just excited to be, like the speakers that you've brought together, the community, some of the content that is going to be talked about is just makes me giddy because, this big piece that you focus on, spirituality has a place in business. And I don't know, it's like, I always say that life is not separate than business. Spirituality is not separate than business. And so anyway, I'm just really excited to be part of this conversation and part of this community.
Well, what you're doing with Business Heroine is so in alignment with the vision and mission of Be Great. So I'm just so excited to have you on board. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about, like, how did you get started? How did the Business Heroine evolve?
Yeah, I got started because I often say that sometimes what sucks can be the strongest motivator.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it started. I went to college, got a job, and found out that, like, oh, this is what life is going to be, just kind of making $12 an hour as an executive assistant and just struggle, right? Like just this struggle life. And all I wanted really was creativity in my work. I just thought, I want more responsibility. I want more creativity, because if I'm going to be spending all my day here, like, I don't know, it just was starting to suck my soul away. And not like it was terrible. I didn't have an abusive boss or anything like that, but it was just dull. And I thought, so is this what life is? We go to work from 9 to 5, and then the leftover scraps at the end of the day are what our life is about. So I think that experience is what kind of just opened my mind up to entrepreneurship as a possibility. And I probably didn't even have that word in my vocabulary really at the time. It was just like, there's got to be a different way. And so at the time I had been studying an energy healing modality called Body Talk, and getting certified in these classes. And I thought, what if I had my own energy healing practice? Like, that would be so much more interesting than what I'm doing. And I could do that, and I could actually have more free time, because it's not like I'd be doing it for 40 hours a week, and I could make more money and have more time in my life and be doing something that's really fascinating to me. So that was really my big leap into the entrepreneurial space. I quit my job. I had no savings, no backup plan. I had no idea what I was doing. If I actually knew how little I knew, I would probably have been, a little more scared. But I did that, and I got a few clients, and it wasn't enough though. And I started falling behind on my bills. I started falling behind on my mortgage, and basically got myself in a really tight spot. And I just remember this one day, it was like, why is this so hard? Like, there's got to be an easier way. And am I asking so much from the world? All I want to do is something that I feel passionate about and be able to survive in return. Is that so much? So that turning point, that became a turning point. And that was really my, my avenue into entrepreneurship. I started reading every book I could get my hands on the law of attraction, on investing, on money, on business, on lifestyle freedom. And, it's not like it changed overnight, but step by step and bit by bit, just staying the course. And when I started Business Heroine, and actually, let me back up 1 second. Before I started Business Heroine, I did figure out how to create my own business that was doing something I was good at, where I got to call my own shots and create location freedom, which for me, that was like this pipe dream. Like, how do people go and travel around the world and do, I thought, oh, that's for them. That's not for me. Lucky them. they must have been born with a silver spoon in their mouth or whatever. But I ended up creating that reality. And so I took full advantage of that. I, traveled around Central America. My husband and I traveled around the United States in a motorhome, just kind of looking for where do we want to plant our roots? Looking for the little hidden gem spots to live. So took full advantage of that. And then Business Heroine, when I started that's really my passion work. So the work I was doing that allowed me the freedom in the first place, it was work I was good at, and it was work that I found interesting, but it was work that drained me. I was doing a lot of writing and like kind of had built myself, like I needed to deliver a certain amount of writing in order to keep it afloat. And anyway, it's not like you can just show up and punch a clock, right? Like the article gets written or it doesn't get written. And I kind of basically took myself to the state of burnout because I was working around the clock. It was just ridiculous. So Business Heroine really started as me sort of being in the inquiry. I just wanted to learn. There's all these women out there who are carving their own path, creating businesses just based on either a journey that they've gone through and come out on the other side, or something that they're passionate about, or something that they're inspired to bring into the world, and creating the lifestyle that is desirable to them and making the world a better place, basically doing what feels good, right? Like what feels good and natural to them and what is their dream lifestyle and how that contributes to the world in the best way that it can. So I was really in the inquiry about it. And so I just started interviewing women and wanting to feature and highlight women who were doing it and go, if they can do it, all of us can do it. And
yes.
Yeah. And the more we show up as us, the more we show up in our truth, the more we show up as real, the more we say yes to our desires instead of have to or shoulds, then the more we're stepping into our full power, the better, the more we're elevating humanity. So that's really what it's all about. It's like, saying yes to what feels good, saying yes to what is calling you, what your spirit is saying, creating life on your own terms, like whatever it is that you want, you can do. It's not like there's only 10 options in this world. We have this endless catalog of anything you can come up with. Build your own pizza, right? It's not like there's only three things on the menu. So yeah, that's what it's about. Just creating a platform to showcase those women who have created life the way that they were inspired to, and also to create a community for women who are inspired to create life on their own terms, to come together and support each other, to rise to do it. So anyway, this is why you and I resonate with each other so much, because
absolutely.
We're from the same star. We have the same mission, right?
We absolutely do. You could have been talking about Be Great on so many levels. So yes. And I love that I love that you have the spiritual components, that you've done energy work and that you've brought that into your life, into your business. And I just love, I was laughing because hello, $12 an hour as an executive assistant, kind of.
You had the same job?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And it just wasn't enough. And then trying to figure out though, our path of how do we do what we love to do in a way that supports us, that we're not killing ourselves. And that's where people like Elena Lipson come in, where she walks the walk of her divine self-care programs, where it's not about how hard you work, it's about how smart you work and what you create, like what feels good to you, and creating a life where, for me, I want to create a life where I'm working 20 or 30 hours a week and I'm making really good money. And I have people working for me that are working 30 hours a week and they're also making really good money. Yeah. And it's on my terms, absolutely on my terms. So I just love, you and I are soul sisters.
Soul sisters. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned bringing spirituality in as a superpower into business. And I think that's brilliant because, and it goes along very much with what Elena Lipson teaches with the self-care, because instead of struggle and doing things the hard way, we can partner with the universe. We can partner with our spirit, listen to our intuition, and go with the flow instead of constantly just trying to climb this mountain with crazy sub-zero winds blowing us over. And it doesn't have to be that way. And the more that we surrender the easier it gets, and things like miracles just pop in our paths. And it's that balance between surrender and action, right? It doesn't mean we just sit there and meditate on a mountaintop and expect like everything to fall into place. Like but we're partnering with the universe. And so anyway, I just love that piece of bringing the spirituality into it.
It's flow with a purpose. Like, yes,
exactly.
It's all right to flow, but with intention.
Right. I love that. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it just, when we can do that, then we really are standing in alignment. And I love this whole concept of just bashing what we thought we had to do, how we should do things, and let it be over here somewhere completely far away from me, from any of us, that we get to create our own vision and who we want to be. And I recently read something that it says that human beings are the only animals that try to change who they are.
Interesting.
All it does is create conflict and pain. And if the more that we can set aside judgment, if we're judging somebody else, that's about us. That's something how we're feeling about ourselves. And if we can learn to accept ourselves more, love ourselves more, embrace who we really are, whether that's, totally refined or totally a dork or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
There is room for all of us, and we're going to be loved so much. We're going to be loved so much more because we are just being genuine, and the right people are going to be attracted to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying is exactly, it's really, really important, actually. That's just like a huge key, because the more you are, the more things work, because that's what it is to be in flow and to receive and to allow things to grow and expand naturally. If we're fighting against our own nature, just imagine everything else we're fighting against to just try to force things into being. And then even if our forcing things into being, because we can create results by working our asses off, working ourselves into the ground. I've done that.
Me too.
It's not enjoyable. And the prize at the end is not even fulfilling. It's like, it's completely missing the point.
Completely.
So when we can just be ourselves and let that be our magic, we attract the people we're meant to attract. We speak the way, what we're meant to speak. And that's where the magic is.
Yep. I was just going to say the same thing. That is where the magic is. Hey,
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about if somebody wanted to work with you, what would that look like?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple ways. So there's Business Heroine Academy. And Business Heroine Academy it's really what I wished I had all along, back when I leapt into this world and had no idea what I was doing, and it didn't really end up going so well. But it's really just the fundamentals, basics for getting a business out of your head and into the world, step by step. Every module, I like to call them chapters of your heroine's journey, because it's like a nicer word than module. But every chapter of your heroine's journey is just one piece at a time, and you can just relax into the system, like relax into that container. All you need to do is focus on the one thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, and the Academy's got your back. So that is really the best place to start. And then I also do some private mentoring for a few individuals who are, really, really ready to step into who they really are, like that big who are ready to go big, like really ready to put their impact and influence into the world in a big way. So there's some opportunities for that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And then how do they find that kind of information? Do they go to the businessheroinemagazine.com to find that?
Yeah, go to businessheroinemagazine.com and subscribe to the magazine there, and then they'll receive some information via email.
Cool. And if they subscribe to the magazine, what do they get?
They get access to the community. They get, goodies and dibs for just members, and and then just like all the digests of all the content that we have in there, the women that we feature, the interviews that we feature, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah,
very cool. Yeah. It's very good stuff. It's very good reading. That's for darn sure. Very inspirational, and definitely makes me feel connected. That I'm not the only one doing what I'm doing, kind of a thing. So
yeah. You're awesome.
And why don't you talk a little bit about, would love to hear what you're going to bring to the Be Great conference here next week.
I am so excited. I'm going to be talking about it's really for you if you are secretly big. And this is, do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's like, it's somehow it's more socially acceptable to talk about our flaws and our shortcomings than it is to talk about our greatness. Like,
Especially as women,
yeah,
especially as women.
it's like, you look so beautiful. Oh, it was on sale. Or, like that kind of thing. Or it's like, oh,
Minimize.
it's okay to talk about our cellulite, but it's not okay to talk about like that we are badass world changers, right?
Right.
So,
And it's not okay to say that we love our bodies either.
right. Like, what if we're like, oh my God, I love my body and I am a freaking genius. Like, look at these amazing things that I'm doing in the world. Like, it's not socially acceptable to talk that way. But there are so many women, and I have a feeling like pretty much everybody who's drawn and attracted to the Be Great conference, where it's like, deep down, like you were meant to be big. You weren't meant to be just a name on someone's email list. You're meant to be the leader and the influencer that is creating tribes and generating, massive change in the world, like with your unique flavor of it, right? Like whatever that is.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's who it's for. And what I'm going to be talking about is the mechanics of breakthrough. And I'm so excited about this. This was information that woke me up at 3 a.m. a few months ago. I just woke up and I was like, oh my God, that doesn't happen to me. I'm not someone who's just like, constantly channeling stuff, but that's what happened. Like I woke up at 3 a.m. I could not fall back asleep. I was like, I'm not going to fall back asleep. So I grabbed my notebook and just started writing for like 4 hours, just this whole download of like, oh my God, that's how it works. Like when you breaking through to the other side, breaking through to a new level, it's mechanics. There are mechanics to it, and it works like this. And when you can see it, when you can see the way that the machine works, essentially like the mechanics of breaking through to a new reality, then all of a sudden it makes it less personal, and it takes away the sort of shame for why I'm not where I thought I should be yet, or having let ourselves down so many times. And so it's like when you're done letting yourself down, you can go, oh my God, like these are the steps. I can recognize exactly where I am in the process of breakthrough. I can see how close that breakthrough is based on where I am, and like actually the small little tweaks that need to happen to bust me through to the other side, because the sort of veil is lifted around what is that invisible ceiling, or what is that sort of invisible force field that can feel like it's just keeping us from that other side, whether that's like making your first 6 figures, or actually doing the business that you were meant to do, or like claiming your psychicness, or whatever that is. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting, because I think everybody in that room definitely is going to connect with that. And the ego gets in the way so much of allowing us to be really who we are and living our life's purpose. And we keep coming back to judging ourselves and, feeling that shame, guilt, all those other destructive emotions, and really getting in touch with the big badass selves that's inside.
Yeah.
Who said, I read this recently, that basically most of us, if not all of us, we just don't dream big enough. Because we all are capable. Every single person is capable of fulfilling a really big vision and dream.
Yeah. Have you seen that thing? There's like the way that elephants are trained in the circus. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So what happens is, this is heartbreaking. So heartbreak warning. Elephants, when they are babies and they're being trained for the circus or to be tamed, what they do is they chain their leg, right? So they can't run away. And then what they do is they start to make the chain smaller and smaller to where it's a rope. And then it could be just a little tiny string, which the elephant is obviously big enough to just move their foot and break that string. But what happens is they don't even try.
Right.
Because they've just learned that they can't. And so
it's learned helplessness.
It's learned helplessness. And you could even take the string away, and now they're just like, oh, I don't know how to run free anymore. Yeah. And so we're the same way as humans. Yeah. It's like, if we can see it so clearly, we're like, you're a huge elephant, just run, just like, but we're the same way. There is absolutely no limit to what we're capable of and what's possible, except for us believing that we can't. So this is why what you're doing is so important, because when you're around other women who, even if you can't see it for yourself, you can see it for each other, and then let others see it for you. And then you start to believe it. And then you awaken to what you're really capable of. And that happens in community, that happens in tribe.
Yep, that you cannot happen alone, because as human beings, that's what, just as animals, I mean, that's what we do. There's a lot of dog studies out there from way back when, the same kind of a thing about that learned helplessness, and that they never get over it. Like they never try, because that's what they know, and that's heartbreaking. And it's just as heartbreaking for us. Like we feel like we can't do it and we're stuck in that. And that's why events like this matter so much, because all of a sudden you're surrounded by other people that are going to help you shift your perspective. And all of a sudden, instead of looking over here where you've been looking for the last however many years, now you're looking over here. And oh my God, this is a whole different view of what is possible.
Yeah.
And you're going to leave this conference feeling so inspired and invigorated and full of possibility.
Yeah.
That you're just going to, you're not going to be able to wait for the next one, whether it's the Be Great conference or Chantel's event in Shine Live up in Kelowna, Canada. I mean, these kinds of events, that's what they do, is that they charge you up, they fill you up. And I'm going to task people to connect so that you walk away with an accountability partner or a new tribe that you connect with, that you stay in touch with, to remind you of the perspective over here. When you start going back here, it's like, wait a minute, let me pull you back over here, because this is what is possible. Anything is possible. My 7-year-old son likes to throw that back at me, because that's one of my favorite sayings. Well, Mom, yeah, but anything is possible. Well, yeah, you're right.
Can I have a sleepover? No, not this week, but anything is possible. You might change your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because, there's a phrase that I heard, I don't know where this came from either, but it's environment is stronger than willpower.
Yes.
I went to this seminar one time where we were basically breaking arrows with our throats. Have you ever done anything like that?
No.
Like holding arrows, something you don't want anywhere near your throat, right? Like pushing into it and breaking with your throat. So the point, really powerful. So you learn what you're capable of. But what was fascinating, we were broken up into small groups. So there were groups of 10 all around this room. And what was fascinating is some groups popped right through. The first person went bing, and then they went ding, 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 and they were all done. And then there were other groups where everybody else was done, and they were each person was freaking out and feeling the fear and leaning in, leaning back, leaning in, leaning back. And when the conversation came up about, what was that all about? It was in those groups that popped right through, it was just the first person did it. The first person, for some reason, just did it fast. So then everybody else just adopted the belief oh, that must be easy, or it must be fast, or I'm going to do it fast too. Whereas in the group that went really slow, the first person was in their fear and having a hard time. So then everybody thought, well, this must be hard. So I thought that was fascinating, because, I think it's Tony Robbins who says the quality of your life is, or your income level will match the 5 incomes closest to you, or the books you read and the people you hang out with, something like that. So it's if we are around a world of, I guess, lack of a better world, if we hang out in the world of muggles, to just be a Harry Potter nerd for a second, if we're hanging out with that, then we start to believe that that's what reality is, and that's true. So you've got to go to Hogwarts, aka Be Great conference, and conferences like this often, really not once in your life, but what if we did that once a quarter, and it was just almost like a car getting fueled up, and you go and you get your gasoline, and it's time to get refueled again, time to, remind ourselves and stay in that environment, be part of that fabric, be in that water.
Yep, absolutely. And another thing I love to do is to play up. So I played tennis in high school. I was never very good, but I still love to play. But it's the same idea, is that you play up. You want to play with the big dogs. You want to play with people that are better than you, and just realize that at some point in their careers, they were where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
But learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of idea. Be energized by what they have accomplished, instead of feeling jealous or not good enough because somebody has greater success than you, look at that person and go, man, I know that they were where I was once, and I want to learn. I want to learn from them. And I want to be around that energy, because it's the same idea of the arrow breaking with your throat, is that if you're surrounding yourself with successful people who have gone through tough times, come out the other side, it becomes a part of you too, and you're just going to keep moving forward. And one of my favorite things is Albert Einstein's, I'm going to get it wrong, but the gist of it is that the people that fail are the ones that stop trying. I'm not saying that it's easy, because we don't minimize our experience, but it's also a reminder to look at how much are we getting in our own way, and how much are we creating challenges and difficulties. And if we take time like this with the Be Great conference, and just like you said, once a quarter, fill up our gas tank, then it's getting easier and easier to keep moving through and keep pushing through, because so many things are shifting in our paradigm, in our perceptions, in our approach to business and life. We're going to walk away we are going to move our business and our lives in an exponential manner.
Yeah, because what happens is during the conference itself, you're feeling lit up, you're feeling inspired, you're feeling motivated, and then you can ride that. And then what also happens is you'll look back even a year, 2 years later, and be like, oh, I'm responding to this situation differently because of that. Does that happen to you? Like, you can look back and go, oh, this was from that conference 2 years ago, or this was from that one conversation. Like, I'm actually different. Like, how I'm just in the world is different. So it's the things you don't even notice, but they seep into your cells, and they change you, and they just change you. And you do that enough, and then you're a new person.
And even if you don't think you need to go to this conference, I can tell you, I went to Chantel's Shine Live event. It was just a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, I don't really have the time to go. And I don't really, what am I going to get out of it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just go. Like, just go and just be there and be present. And I can't tell you like what I walked away with from that experience, the connection, the inspiration, the motivation. I changed how I was doing a lot with the Be Great conference itself, because I'm like, oh no, this is working. This feels good. So, I don't have to create Be Great this way. I can kind of shift the perspective on that as well. And wow, talk about a powerful experience. It was just amazing. And the nuggets that I took away, like, wow. So anytime you can attend a conference, it's in alignment.
Investment.
Yeah, it
investment
is.
in yourself. Investing in yourself never goes wrong. And it could be something that one specific presentation that you listen to from a speaker, or it could be one person you happen to sit next to, or one person you have lunch with. Like, you never know. It's like there's so many, one of my mentors calls them backpack moments. Is like when you can be like, well, all right, pick up your backpack and leave, because like I got what I came for. But you can have those backpack moments the whole time over and over again, and just be like, oh my gosh, like if you really just look at it and go, if I get one new friend out of this, it's worth it, because you never know what shifts in your life based on. Yeah.
And you can think you know everything, and that's fine. Yet you go, and you will always, if you stay open, you will always walk away with those backpack moments. So I grew up as a dancer, and I remember, there was no advanced ballet classes, and the only thing open was a beginning class. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to do that. Like, that's just, but I took it anyway. And it was great, because it helped me build a stronger foundation. And it was a different teacher. I learned a little bit, different way of doing things, and it was absolutely worth it. So even if you think you know everything, first of all, you don't. Yeah. And there's always room for improvement. And that's what is beautiful about the Be Great conference, is that it brings in people that want to learn, that are consciously making choices, are living a conscious life, trying to come into alignment with who they are. And then of course you're going to walk away with great nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's our nature to expand.
It is our nature to expand, and I love it and want to embrace it.
Yeah.
Okay, I could just keep talking to you.
I know. Me too.
So for those of you that would like to know a little bit more about Ann Perry, you can hop on to Business Heroine with an E at the end, magazine.com, and check her out. You can also go to begreat.com begreatcon.com, and you can find out some information about her and the conference as well. So Anne, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you for this conversation. It was super fun, and I can't wait to see you in person very soon.
I know, I'm so excited about that part.
Me too.
All right, well, everybody, in the meantime, a week and a couple of days, continue to be great, and I look forward to meeting you all, next week.